Is it Jess or Jessica?
Jess for friends. We're friends now.
We're mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. But Jessica formerly, Jessica in your show?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're here with your show. You're on the free Fringe this year, is that right? And that's because you've done paid venues before.
Yeah.
And you've gone to the free Fringe. So how's that transition been? Is it nice?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Financially, a huge relief. So in the past, I talk about it in my end of my show, but I've been in the Big Four the last 2 years, with my first 2 solo shows, and the first one sold out and got 4 stars, and I lost $7,000.
No.
Yeah, personally. Everyone's making money out of Edinburgh apart from the performers.
Yeah.
Like it's a bit of a mess.
People do come away with debts, but I didn't realise it.
Oh,
could be
mammoth.
so.
Yeah. And then the second year, obviously last year's Olympics, ticket sales were a bit harder, but I still played to pretty full rooms, and I got 5-star reviews, and I lost $9,000. So I just thought, well, I couldn't have come this year if it wasn't for the free Fringe. I've been writing about it and stuff. I really think for stand-up there'll be a shift over the next 5 years. There's very little need for an art form that essentially needs a mic and a light and some chairs facing the right way and minimal sound pollution. You know, I don't know why people are paying thousands of pounds for a theatre space. But you know, it's very complicated. There's all sorts of things to blame, and it's something that's built up over time. And I think it's something that will unravel over the next sort of 4 or 5 years. I think we'll see a lot more professional comedians bringing their Edinburgh shows to the free Fringe instead.
Is that you done with the Big Four now?
For stand-up, unless someone else is going to fund my... I've been lucky enough to have people front the money for my Edinburghs in the past, but I still have to pay them back. I still owe them money.
Yeah.
And it also that going to the free Fringe, taking all that control back. I'm self-producing this year as well, and I thought it'd be stressful. It's the most relaxed I've ever been about an Edinburgh, just having that control. And actually, it's not. I mean, let the cat out the bag. It's not that much work. It's a bit of stapling of a morning and an hour or two's flyering. You've got a good room and a good space, and you've written your blurbs well enough in all the brochures. Then it's not that much work, you know. If you consider how many hours a day actual work you're doing, it's not that much. So I think well worth doing.
Well, it's really interesting you say about how they've built this thing around what stand-up is, and kind of every year you come and it's bigger and it's more, and there's more posters, and then there's a cow, and then there's a, you know, I think that's absolutely right, that there's a lot around what is very little. Yeah. But so is your show also transitioning as well? Do you feel yourself kind of developing as a performer?
Over the course of the festival so
over
far?
Over the course of... Because you had your first show, which was
Luxury
Tramp, which I saw.
Did you?
I did, and it was really, really good. I was very impressed with you as a performer, and I thought, have you done performance before, even though it was your debut show?
Yeah, it started out as well, I'd already been doing stand-up for 3 years before doing a solo show for an hour, but also did a lot of improvised comedy before I did stand-up, and various bits and bobs of acting, normally comedy-themed, and it just took me probably about 3 or 4 years of doing that to get the proverbial testicles together to start stand-up. Yeah, so I'd been doing a bit of performance before, and yes, certainly, I think through everything improves year on year in terms of writing, performance, calmness and a confidence in what you're doing, knowing what you're doing, and knowing what Edinburgh is about as well, how to treat yourself well in Edinburgh. All of that stuff gets better year on year. I actually think the second hour is harder than the first.
Well, it's the difficult second album, isn't it?
Exactly.
You've got all your humdingers out of the way.
Yeah, all those ones that you had 3 years to write, and then suddenly write the whole... And I did a very ambitious second show. It was all about etymology, and took a lot of research, and it was still fun, but it was really hard work. It was really hard work.
Quite academic.
Yes, it was a bit academic. It was a bit academic. Whereas this year again, of the relief of just... I mean, the show's all new stuff. It's all based on stuff that's happened to me in the last year. But it's being so far an absolute pleasure to do. Is
it feel more honest and more? Is there a certain thrill in having personal stuff?
I agree. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. For me personally, not to say I won't do other nerdy academic shows that are research based. I think there's a lot to be gained from doing it, and there's a lot of fun in doing them. But yeah, I take personally a real joy in telling stories about things that have happened in my life and bringing empathy and poignancy into your comedy. And I think that's something that can improve over time. And yeah, I'm really proud of this show, and it's a lot more relaxing to do something where you're sharing stories with friends, it feels like.
And it's about moving, is that right? Is that what it's called, moving?
It's called Moving. It's simple.
About you moving.
About me moving, yeah. I mean, it's essentially about anything that could come under the bracket of that word. And that's exactly what I did. Initially I thought, let's write a show that's almost theme-free, and it can just be jokes in a row if need be. And then it started out with the idea, because I've just moved in with just in October I moved in with a boyfriend for the first time, and he happens to be a hoarder, so there's some interesting stuff that had come out of that. And then you kind of go, okay, keep it really loose this year, because last year was such a tight theme. And then invariably, actually, your writing, because that's in mind, starts being about maybe travelling stories or emotional release or anything else, and without overthinking it, it's sort of begun to come out more and more under that bracket anyway. It's
a change of pace, maybe. Yeah. Taking a more of a slow dance.
Yes, exactly.
With your audience.
Yeah. And in the process of putting the show together as well. Really, yeah. It was much more natural writing this year. It never felt like work.
And you're enjoying the festival, the whole experience as well. Do you feel as much a part of the big festival being part of the Free Fringe, or is that taking a step out of it?
Yeah, I think if you'd asked me this a couple of years ago, even immediately after my first show, I'd have said that to go from playing the Big Four to the Free Fringe would have felt regressive, and I couldn't disagree with that former opinion of my own more now. I don't feel any less involved in anything. I've got friends of peers in terms of the levels that we're working at doing shows in the Free Fringe as well. That helps. I think the profile of it has raised enormously through people on it having done extremely well, unknown names and also really established names going to the Free Fringe to do shows. So I personally don't feel any sort of insecurities about that this year. There are things, there are quirks of the Free Fringe. Like, there's no room that's perfect on the Free Fringe. There are lots of rooms that are imperfect that you've paid thousands of pounds for, so it's fine. I have a bit of sound bleed from the show next to me, and so it's not in any way, doesn't mean I can't do the show. It just means I've had to write some jokes to reference it. I've got plenty of friends in paid rooms who are having to write an awful lot of stuff about how hot their room is or about the noise from the room. So it's much of a muchness, really. I'm very lucky, I think, with my Free Fringe room. I'm in Cabaret Voltaire, and it's very cool, and it's big, and it's easy to find. Locals know where it is because it's a bar all year round. I think I've really lucked out.
And I think it is people like you that people know of you, and you've done shows on the festival, and saying, okay, so she's taking a show to the, and it's just gradually going to build up that way, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, also, I'm not pretty honest in my show about the financial realities of doing the Big Four as well.
Yeah, but I mean that's inevitably part of it, isn't it? And people aren't going to be losing loads of money forever, hopefully.
Well, hopefully. The problem is, it's such a desirable job, isn't it, to be a comedian or to be a star or any of the reasons people do it. But I don't know. I just think people need to be really careful. And I think that at some point it has to break, and the people left doing stand-up and self-funding on the Big Four will either be minted or deluded. Be honest.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jess.
you.
Oh, just to mention your show again. When is it? Where is it?
So it's called Moving. It's in Cabaret Voltaire. It's at 5:05 every day until the 24th. It finishes a day early, so I've got no day off.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
And it's free.
And then
free until
I've got a bucket.
scrounging with a bucket at the end.
Just smiling sweetly.